Ferb, are you expecting someone?
Not them.
Hello, marvellous viewers. Welcome back. We got a brand new listicle for you, and this time we're exploring the wonderful world of cartoons. And why wouldn't we? They have always thrived on the unexpected, and it's no mystery. While your eyes catch your favourite heroes battling the dangerous villains in one episode, in the next you'll find them sharing the screen with your other favourite characters, but the latter come from a strangely different universe. Weird, right? I mean, how can a DC character suddenly stumble upon someone from the world of Cartoon Network? And that someone is not even from Teen Titans or Teen Titans Go.
I got my superstars right here.
Thanks, Dad.
And here's the thing. Sometimes these crossover events are really laughable. Other times they're nostalgic, no doubt. Or most of the time, they come out as unexpectedly iconic. Yet they're just so bizarre that you call your sibling sitting beside you and whisper in their ear, well, who even came up with this idea? Ranging from iconic Saturday morning classics that collide with modern favourites, to crossovers that somehow manage to connect completely unrelated worlds and moons, the list is just endless. But then again, it's not just the shock value that makes the weirdest of these crossovers memorable. In fact, it's seeing wildly different styles of animation, personalities, and storylines that are just forced into each other. Yes, looking at how these crossovers are shoved into our throats, they simply shouldn't work at all, but they do. And this is what makes them fascinating. Some became instant classics because of this, and some just left us scratching our heads. It's called creative magic. Whether these ideas were created to celebrate an anniversary, attract audiences, or simply provide fan service depends on the production, but either way, they were definitely not your average guest appearances. And this is why in today's countdown, we're diving into 10 weirdest cartoon crossovers ever made. Let's go!
I'll take that. Herc, care to do the honors?
Gladly!
Hercules and Aladdin. Kicking off our list in the crossover is something that I doubt many of the Disney fans may have erased from their memories. Of course, pairing Hercules and Aladdin is something that looks good while we write it down as an idea in our journal. I mean, both are beloved Disney heroes inspired by ancient legends and folklore. Hercules is this strong, muscle-bound guy. Aladdin is this charming kleptomaniac who can make anyone go feral, even though he loves Jasmine. So, should I even mention that these two Prince Charmings have actually made an appearance together? The answer is indeed yes, and I'm afraid that this shall blow your mind. And in this episode, titled Hercules and the Arabian Night, Hercules travels to Agrabah, bringing in the worlds of Greek mythology and Aladdin together. Weird, right? Even weirder is that Hercules joins forces with the handsome and courageous Aladdin, the bold and independent Princess Jasmine, Abu, the magic carpet that takes you on a whole new world, and of course, even a brief appearance from the unforgettable Genie. If you're not someone who was born in 1991, then you'll definitely think, is this something that I will find in AO3? Sure you will. Call it fanfiction, or simply fan service. And on top of it, we see Hercules battling Hades and Jafar, which adds a touch of mythology to the episode. You don't only get to see the Aladdin and the magic lamp aspect flowing round and about. You also see some Greek mythology sneaking its way in. You meet Philoctetes Island, Mount Olympus, Hades, Pain and Panic, Icarus, and Pegasus. And the episode moves between the worlds of Agrabah and Greek mythology, blending the visual styles of both worlds. Naturally, the real highlight is seeing Hercules and Aladdin join forces against Hades and Jafar. But it is the link-up of Aladdin with Hercules to strike down Hades and Jafar's evil intentions which makes this whole episode super iconic. So make sure to check out this one. Now, let's move on to our next crossover. The Jetsons and WWE Robo WrestleMania. Coming to the next weirdest crossover, we have the one between the Jetsons and WWE. Unexpected, right? These are literally from two unrelated worlds, so you can imagine how surreal it would have felt for the viewers to see their paths colliding. Like seriously, how could anyone have even expected that a futuristic family from the 1960s would team up with larger-than-life professional wrestlers from the world of WrestleMania? And I don't think anyone would have even thought that this would literally come as this legit direct-to-video animated movie in 2017 called Robo WrestleMania. Sources say that this was the fourth and final collaboration between Warner Bros. Animation and WWE Studios, and also the first major The Jetsons production in nearly 27 years, if we look back at when Jetsons the movie was released in 1990. Funny how the mere presence of this film proves that almost any two unrelated franchises can be mashed up together, if the concept is wild enough to enrapture the audience from both sides. And the plot is just as interesting as the concept itself. After George Jetson accidentally revives Big Show from a block of ice, Big Show takes control of Orbit City's robot wrestlers, prompting the Jetsons to seek help from WWE superstars from the past. We see Sheamus, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, the Usos, Alicia Fox, etc. representing us humans as they battle their robot counterparts. These WWE superstars are transported into the futuristic world just so we can root for them as they battle Big Show and his robotic forces to save Orbit City. However, what makes this weird crossover actually work is that both identities are not forced to resemble each other in any manner. While the Jetsons are allowed to behave in a corny, animated way as they are, the WWE champions are also not reduced to comic props and function throughout the film as a major drive behind the Jetsons' escapade from Big Show's show and tell. That being said, let's move on to the next topic.
Holy Scooby-Dooby-Doo!
Scooby-Doo and Batman. Our next weird crossover in cartoon history is none other than the one between Scooby-Doo and Batman. Of course, it is one of the most bizarre crossovers that has ever happened, given that Batman's world is less saturated compared to that of Shaggy and Scooby-Doo. Yet these two worlds blend so naturally that you're left hooked till the end. Fascinatingly, seeing Mystery Inc. link up with Batman and Robin feels absolutely surreal. We usually see the former chasing fake ghosts and masked faces. But that's not the only thing that makes this episode fascinating. The appearance of Batman's iconic villains, Joker and Penguin, makes the crossover even more memorable. And that's exactly why the Caped Crusader caper stands out as one of the most memorable Batman and Scooby-Doo crossovers ever made. Like, just imagine two different tones in one frame. Batman and Robin exercising their great investigative skills, while Scooby and Shaggy tightly embrace each other and shiver in timbers. Peak crossover, an absolute cinema moment, indeed for the fans of Cartoon Network. That being said, let's move on to the next crossover.
Bender, we've just regained contact. Have you killed Homer Simpson?
Yep, killed him good.
The Simpsons / Futurama. Our next crossover is that between The Simpsons and Futurama, and what makes this crossover really weird is that the original Futurama had actually ended a year before this episode even aired. In other words, Simpsorama marked the Futurama cast's major television return before the series itself came back on Hulu in 2023. However, one of the fun things about this crossover is that both shows have referenced each other long before Simpsorama. Futurama included jokes about The Simpsons, Bart Simpson merchandise appears as a background gag, and the comic series The Simpsons Futurama Crossover Crisis had already brought the two worlds together. Simpsorama simply embraces the crossover without worrying too much about strict continuity. Of course, in this episode, this law is completely disregarded, and it is assumed that The Simpsons and Futurama belong to the same timeline. Yet this episode remains joyful and entertains both the fans of The Simpsons and those of Futurama in every way possible. Following the burial of a time capsule by the Springfieldians, a freak storm brings from the future Futurama's Bender so that he can kill Homer Simpson. However, he befriends him instead, due to which other Futurama characters appear, now to kill Bart, since some mutant rabbits have arisen to destroy New York thanks to the buried time capsule. In the entire episode, we see the Simpsons embark on a journey into the future so that they can round up the mutant rabbits and launch them into space. That being said, let's move on to our next crossover. Kim Possible and Lilo and Stitch. Our next crossover is of course that between Kim Possible, the ultimate embodiment of beauty with brains and strength, and of course the Hawaiian world of Lilo and Stitch. And indeed, it is not just one of the weirdest crossovers that have ever happened, but also a brilliant animation crossover episode that all types of viewers can watch and enjoy together. On top of that, the selected cast aggressively commits themselves to the storyline and to their respective characters, which makes the episode even more enjoyable to watch. Titled Rufus, the episode starts with Stitch getting kidnapped by a mysterious force inside a flying hovercraft. As Lilo prepares herself to save her alien best friend on her own, the top-heavy Pleakley and Dr. Jumbo Jukiba suggest that they have someone who can help, and she is none other than Miss Kim Possible. Unfortunately, it's discovered that the mysterious force is none other than Dr. Hamsterviel, who has joined forces with Shigo and Dr. Draken so that he can capture Stitch and clone him. Throughout the episode, we see Kim, along with Lilo and her alien friends, investigating and resolving the case in unity so that they can all free Stitch from the clutches of Shigo and Dr. Kraken. In the midst of all this comes a funny misunderstanding when Jumba mistakenly believes that Ron Stoppable's pet, naked mole rat, Rufus, is actually one of his alien experiments. Nonetheless, as the episode progresses, Stitch confirms that Rufus is just an ordinary naked mole rat, making the whole situation even funnier. And this is how Rufus becomes a major character in the whole episode, as Jumbo constantly attempts to capture him so he can learn the truth. That being said, let's move on to our next crossover.
First of all, Stephen, thank you very much for taking the time to meet with us. We realize...
Freakazoid, Animaniacs, and Pinky and the Brain. Does anyone still remember that Animaniacs, Freakazoid, and Pinky and the Brain crossed over with each other across several episodes? In the Freakazoid segment called Freakazoid is History, we see Pinky and the Brain appear. Like seriously, mind-blowing. Then the Brain is again seen appearing in the Freakazoid episode, The Freakazoid. And then Freakazoid even makes a brief cameo in the Pinky and the Brain episode, Star Warners. Super duper mind-blowing if I'm allowed to be super duper honest. And I'm pretty sure that most of you would be thinking, oh, that Brain was actually recurring, so how could he be a part of a flipping crossover? No, I'm not talking about the recurring villain, the Lobe here. Yes, his name was the Lobe, not the Brain. I'm talking about that grumpy genius mouse scientist from Pinky and the Brain. And what makes this crossover even broader in nature is that Pinky and the Brain were originally characters belonging to the series Animaniacs, who later had their own spin-off series, which would become as popular, if not more successful, a spin-off in its own right. So yes, we literally got to see three worlds blending, Freakazoid, Animaniacs, and then Pinky and the Brain. That was some huge big bang going on between three big cartoon worlds. In Freakazoid is History, we come upon an eponymous character who's witnessing a whole new world thanks to his prevention of the 1941 attack on Pearl Harbor. However, in this world, the Brain from Animaniacs is the President of the United States, while Pinky, his stupid sidekick, pilots Air Force One. Either way, in the Freakazoid, we again see the Brain making a comedic guest appearance alongside Freakazoid and Wacko Warner during an argument over which cartoon series Steven Spielberg likes best. Either way, let's move on to our next weird crossover from the list.
Bye-bye now.
The Mask meets Ace Ventura. Now, our next weird crossover, The Mask meets Ace Ventura, and it's one of the wildest crossovers that has ever taken place in cartoon history. And what's more fascinating is that this legendary crossover between The Mask and Ace Ventura occurred in a two-part, back-to-back episode broadcast that aired on August 30th, 1997. And even more fascinating, it served as both the series finale of The Mask animated series and the season 2 finale of the Ace Ventura cartoon. The narrative was split into two distinct parts, and that is really telling of how rewarding the entire experience with this crossover was. The first part of the series focused on Stanley Ipkiss's dog Milo. The episode begins with Stanley Ipkiss hiring Ace Ventura to help find his kidnapped dog Milo. During the investigation, Spike steals the mask, setting up the events of the second episode. However, when Stanley finally finds out that Spike is the one in the second part of the narrative, he chases him up to the NASA headquarters, and then finally retrieves his mask. After recovering the mask, Stanley joins Ace on a mission involving NASA and Dr. Pretorius' latest scheme. What's saddening is that Jim Carrey, who played Stanley Ipkiss in the live-action film, does not voice the character in the animated series. I'm saying this for those who have not watched the animated series, by the way. But yes, Rob Paulson voices the Mask here, and Michael Dangerfield voices Ace. And both these talented voice actors make sure that the Mask's slapstick, Tex Avery-style cartoon chaos remains naturally blended with Ace Ventura's investigative antics. That being said, let's move on to our next crossover.
Let's pack up. We're going on vacation. How about
Rugrats and the Wild Thornberrys. Our next crossover is that between Rugrats and the Wild Thornberrys. And no doubt, this was one of the animation crossovers that had us scratching our heads, because the collaboration between these two worlds was absolutely unreal. Also, given that both these shows were animated by Klasky Supo, it actually makes sense when we look back at why anyone would think that the two should cross over someday. And it does happen in this movie called Rugrats Go Wild. This film was released in 2003, and for over an hour, 20 minutes, we see the Rugrats being tangled in an exotic adventure as they venture into the world of the Thornberrys. It all starts with the Rugrats families setting off on a vacation, while the Thornberry family is already travelling the world filming nature documentaries. However, the makeshift boat built by Stu sinks during the journey, leaving everyone stranded. They are then stranded and left isolated on an island, which to everyone's shock, happens to be occupied by the Wild Thornberrys. Pretty soon, with the help of the Thornberrys, the two families finally intersect. However, reviewers had their own kind of thoughts on it. Critics gave the film mixed reviews, with some praising the crossover concept, while others criticised its writing and story. Nevertheless, the film left no stone unturned during its promotional process. When this movie was originally released, the team behind the film made use of a scratch and sniff stunt called Odorama, wherein special numbered cards, each of which represented a particular smell, were distributed along with kids' meals sponsored by Burger King restaurants, and even at Blockbuster video stores. And it is actually one of the wisest and most interesting creative marketing decisions ever made. Participants had to pick up the cards and bring those cards during the premiere of the film. So when a particular number flashed on the screen during the film, the participant had to scratch off the scent. When the numbers flashed in red, it indicated that the viewer should find that number on their card and be ready to scratch and sniff when the number turned green in colour. No wonder why this crossover actually worked.
Nice work, kids. You didn't just get back our heroes' powers. You showed true courage fighting alongside them.
Phineas and Ferb, Mission Marvel. Moving on, we're at the second to last segment of our video, and it's about none other than the unbelievable crossover that is seen in the 2013 TV special Phineas and Ferb, Mission Marvel. Imagine the worlds of Marvel and Phineas and Ferb colliding. Just simply mind-boggling. When Dr. Doofenshmirtz from the world of Phineas and Ferb brings out a kind of bizarre invention called Power Draininator, causing the Marvel heroes to lose their powers, they then team up with Phineas and Ferb so that they can together save the world from Doofenshmirtz and, of course, all the other Marvel supervillains. So the entire television special revolves around this question: will Phineas and Ferb be able to restore the powers of these superheroes? And how exactly will they battle these supervillains in the absence of superpowers? What's interesting is that we see the eponymous characters Nick Fury, Spider-Man, Thor, Hulk, Iron Man, etc., and even a cameo of Stan Lee as a hot dog vendor, all in one frame. And you already know how amazing something Marvelish is going to be once you see Stan Lee's cameo in it. No wonder why this remains one of Disney's most memorable animated crossover specials. However, what makes this crossover look really weird is that we see Marvel's greatest heroes getting help from two children famous for building incredible inventions and over-the-top projects. Ridiculous, right? Nevertheless, it was the first major animated Disney Marvel crossover produced after Disney acquired Marvel Entertainment.
Hypersonic headband, go!
The Grim Adventures of the K&D. Now, here we are at the last segment of this video, and it's about the 2007 special episode from K&D, aka Kids Next Door, and it was a crossover between the world of K&D and The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Unbelievable. The Grim Adventures of the Kids Next Door thus starts with Billy putting on his father's lucky pants, despite being warned against doing so as Harold leaves to buy underwear. However, funnily enough, Grimm's supernatural scythe is accidentally stuck in the pants. Desperate for a high-tech solution, Billy contacts Ed, and Eddie's pesky problem fixers to fix his pants. But since Billy doesn't have money to call, he calls the kids next door instead at Eddie's advice. In the midst of all this happening, Mandy suddenly comes up with a malicious intention. Taking advantage of all the confusion and chaos happening, she takes over the K&D moonbase so that she can establish global control. However, in the meantime, Billy accidentally stumbles into the delightful children's delightfulization chamber with Grimm's scythe in his pants, triggering the creation of the massive, multi-headed, delightful Reaper. Do you see it with your own eyes? We literally see a fistful of Cartoon Network energy in one single episode. And despite being broadcast as a half-hour special, we get to see everything in it that we did not know we even needed the most. There are mistakes, there is chaos, and most importantly, the saga ends with a kind of resolution that lingers with you even after the episode ends. Undoubtedly, all these 10 crossovers had dazzled us with incredible background cameos. Unfortunately, we've missed out on many other iconic crossovers too. So if you can recall yet another amazing crossover right now, you can drop that in the comment section below. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed learning about all 10 of the weirdest cartoon crossovers as much as I did. If you did, here's a humble request from our side. You can drop a like on this video, share it with your friends, hype the video, and also drop your requests in the comments section so that we can cover a topic that you've always loved engaging with. We'd also be glad if you drop your own theories or comment down your all-time favourite crossover, be it in the sphere of cartoons or even live-action films. And for more such marvellous videos, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you never miss any updates. Until then, I, Marcus, promise that I will come back again with yet another marvellous topic. See you later, bye bye.